Salvage the Bones, a novel. The 11th Day, Katrina, the first part. When Mama first explained to me what a hurricane was, I thought that all the animals ran away, that they fled the storms before they came, that they put their noses to the wind days before and knew, that maybe they stuck their tongues out, pink and warm to taste, to make sure, that the deer looked at their companions and leapt, that the foxes chattered to themselves, rolled their shoulders and started off, and maybe the bigger animals do. But now I think that other animals, like the squirrels and the rabbits, don't do that at all. Maybe the small don't run. Maybe the small pause on their branches, the pine lined earth, nose up, catch that morning, catch that coming storm air that would smell like salt to them, like salt and clean burning fire, and they prepare like us. The squirrels pack feathers, pack pine straw, pack shed fur and acorns from the oaks in the boughs of their trees. Line them up so that they are buried deep in the trunk, so safe that they can hardly hear the storm cracking around them. The rabbits stand in profile, shank to shank, smell that storm, smell that hits them all at once like a loud sound, and they tunnel down through the red clay and sand, down until the earth turns black and cold, down past all the roots, until they have dug great holes so deep that they are straight up above the underground reservoirs we tap into with our wells. And during the hurricane, they hear water lapping above and below while they sit safe in the hand of the earth. Last night, we laid sleeping pallets in the living room, whose windows we'd lined up with mismatched wood. Randall and I side by side on the floor, Junior on the couch. We brought our own limp pillows, our flat and fitted sheets, and our old electric blankets, short circuited cold long ago. We piled them to create mattresses so flimsy that we could feel the nubby carpet on the floor underneath us when we sat. We washed all the dishes. We filled the bathtub, the kitchen, and the bathroom sinks to the brims with water that we could use for washing and flushing the toilet. We ate a few of the boiled eggs, and Randall cooked noodles for all of us. We balanced the hot bowls in our laps and watched TV. We took turns picking shows. Randall watched a home improvement show where a newlywed couple converted a room in their house from an office into a mint green nursery. I chose a documentary on cheetahs. Junior picked last, and once there were cartoons on the screen, even after Junior fell asleep, we let them turn us bright colors in the dark. Daddy stayed in his room, but he left the door open. Skeeta stayed in his room with China and the puppies, but that door was closed. Before I fell asleep in the flickering light from the television and one dusty lamp, I read, in ancient Greece, for all her heroes, for Medea and her mutilated brother, her devastated father, water meant death. In the bathroom on the toilet, I heard the clanking of metal against metal outside, some broken machine tilting like a sinking headstone against another, and I knew it was the wind pushing a heavy rain. On the day before a hurricane hits, the phone rings. When Mama was living, she picked it up. It was a phone call from the state government that goes out to everyone in the area who will be hit by a storm. Randall has answered it since we lost Mama. He lets it play at least once each summer. Skeeta answered once and hung up before the recording could get beyond hello. Junior never has picked it up, neither has Daddy, and I picked it up for the first time yesterday. A man's voice speaks. He sounds like a computer, like he has an iron throat. I cannot remember exactly what he says, but I remember it in general. Mandatory evacuation. Hurricane making landfall tomorrow. If you choose to stay in your home and have not evacuated by this time, we are not responsible. You have been warned, and these could be the consequences of your actions. There is a list. I do not know if he says this, but this is what it feels like. You can die. This is when the hurricane becomes real. The first hurricane that I remember happened when I was 9, and of the two or three we get every year, it was the worst I've ever been in. Mama let me kneel next to the chair she dragged next to the window. Even then, our boards were mismatched, and there were gaps we could peer out of, track the progress of the storm in the dark. The battery operated radio told us nothing practical, but the yard did. The trees bending until almost breaking, arching like fishing line, empty oil drums rattling across the yard, the water running in clear streams, carving canyons. Her stomach was big with Junior, and I laid a hand on it and watched. Junior was a surprise, a happy accident. She'd had me and Skeeta and Randa a full year apart each, and then nothing else for 9 years. I kneeled next to her and put my ear to her stomach and heard the watery swish of Junior inside her. As outside the wind pulled branch by root until it uprooted a tree 10 feet from the house. Mama watched with her eye to the slit formed by the board over the window. She rocked from side to side like the baby in her would not let her sit still. She stroked my hair. That storm, Elaine, had been a Category 3. Katrina, as the newscaster had said late last night, after we settled in the living room echoing Daddy, had reached a Category 5. During Elaine, Randall and Daddy had slept. Skeeta had sat on the other side of Mama, opposite me, and she told us about a big storm when she was little, the legend, Camille. She said Mother Lisbeth and Papa Joseph's roof was ripped off the house. She said the smell afterward was what she remembered most clearly, a smell like garbage set to rot, seething with maggots in the hot sun. She said the newly dead and the old dead littered the beaches, the streets, the woods. She said Papa Joseph found a skeleton in the yard, gleaming, washed clean of flesh and clothing, but she said it still stank like a bad tooth in the mouth. She said that Papa Joseph never took the remains down to the church, but carried it in an oyster sack out into the woods. She thought he buried the bones there. She said she and Mama Lisbeth walked for miles for water from an artesian well. She says she got sick, and most everybody did, because even then the water wasn't clean. And she had dreamed that she could never get away from the water because she couldn't stop shitting it or pissing it or throwing it up. She said there would never be another like Camille, and if there was, she didn't want to see it. I fell asleep after everyone else did last night, and now I wake before everyone. Daddy snores so loudly I can hear him from his room. Randall sleeps with his face turned to the sofa. Junior is asleep, on his back to me, curved like he's hiding something. Junior has one arm off the sofa, one leg, and his cover hangs from him. The TV is dead. The house is quiet in a way it never is. Its electric hum silent. In our sleep, the arriving storm has put a strangling hand over the house. We've lost power. Through the crack in the living room window, the morning is dark gray and opaque as dirty dishwater. The rain clatters on the rusted tin roof, and the wind, which yesterday only made itself known by sight, sighs and says, "Hello." I lay here in the dark, pull my thin sheet up to my neck, stare at the ceiling, and do not answer. Mama has talked back to Elaine. Mama had talked back to Elaine, talked over the storm, pulled us in the midst of it to keep us safe. This secret that is no longer a secret in my body, will I keep it safe? If I could speak to this storm, spell it harmless like Medea, would this baby, size of my fingernail, my pinky fingernail, maybe hear? Would speaking it make it remember me once it is born? Make it know me? Would it look at me with Manny's face, with his golden skin, with my hair? Would it reach out with its fingers, pink, and grasp? The sun will not show. It must be out there over the furious hurricane, beating itself against the coastline, like China at the tin door of the shed when she wants to get out and Skeet will not let her. But here on the pit, we are caught in the hour where the sun is hidden beyond the trees, but hasn't escaped over the horizon. When it is coming and going, when light comes from everywhere and nowhere, when everything is gray, I lie awake and cannot see anything but that baby, the baby I have formed, whole in my head, a black Athena who reaches for me, who gives me the name as if it is mine. Mama, I swallow salt. That voice ringing in my head is drowned out by a train letting out one long high blast, and then it disappears, and there is only the sound of the wind like a snake, big enough to swallow the world sliding against mountains, and then the wind like a train again, and the house creaks. I curl into a ball. Did you hear that? It is Skeeta. I can barely see him. He is only a wash of greater darkness that moves in the dark opening of the hallway. Yeah, I say. My voice sounds like I have a cold and all the mucus from my crying lodged in my nose. A train. Mama called. Camille came, and the wind sounded like trains. When Mama told me this, I put my nose in her knee. I'd heard trains before when we went swimming on the oyster shell beach, and the train that ran through the middle of St. Catherine would sound loudly in the distance. I could not imagine wind sounding something like that, but now I hear it, and I can. Where's the lamp? On the table, I squeaked. Skeeta walked toward the table, bumping into things in the half light, and fumbled the kerosene lantern to light. Come on, Skeeta says.